In this video, I will be responding to LegalEagle's request for someone to figure out if this one particular courtroom exchange that has been widely distributed on the internet is real or not. The exchange in question I will put here, and so if you want to pause the video right now, you can read the exchange for yourself. Anyway, as I said, it has been distributed on the internet and quoted a lot because it's, funny, entertaining. But what is not clear, of course, is whether it is a real transcript or just something that someone made up. Anyway, in his video from March of this year, where he was reviewing memes, LegalEagle said this.
I definitely have seen this one before. It's been floating around the internet for a long time. I would love for someone to track down to see if this is actually a real deposition transcript. It's just too good to be true. I really want it to be true. I kind of doubt that it is.
Well, it isn't. So I just decided to do some searching online, try to figure out where this transcript actually came from. And so here I'm just going to talk about what I found. So all of my searches I did either on Google or ProQuest. And ProQuest you need a university account, and I actually still have one, despite having already graduated like 2 months ago. And so what I was trying to do, I was trying to find the oldest versions of this story anywhere, in a book, newspaper article, whatever, the oldest versions of it possible, because of course I want to see where it first appeared. And LegalEagle mentioned that he's seen this story around a lot, and as it happens, I have too, even though I, of course, am not a lawyer. So this certainly suggests that it has been circulating for quite a while. And when I was searching about it, I actually found that it has actually appeared not just in a bunch of websites, it's appeared in some newspaper articles and some books as well. And I have links to those in the description. Now, it looks like a lot of the results, especially if you just go on Google, are just random websites websites of some sort that are listing like silly, funny courtroom exchanges or stuff like that. And this is just one of the ones that they list. And in terms of sources, if you actually look at some of the websites, for example, and other media that are citing this story, sometimes they will say that it comes from this one specific source, which is the Massachusetts Bar Association Lawyers Journal. And it turns out that does exist. The journal does exist. Also, some of the articles that were talking about this exchange and that cited the Lawyers Journal as a source were published in the late 1990s. So what does that mean? That means that it's obviously been around for at least that long. And, it seems like it may have come from the Massachusetts Bar Association Lawyers Journal. And so then, of course, you have to do some more digging. And I went on the website of the journal itself, but I couldn't look at any of the issues from any of the years that could potentially have been the source. The reason is that the archives only go back to 2003, and there are versions of this that are claiming that it comes from this journal that were published in like the late 90s, so it has to have been before that. But there was one especially useful source that was published in the Allentown Morning Call in 1998. This was a newspaper article that I got on ProQuest, and the article includes a lot of discussion of this story. And at the beginning it says, quote, "In May 1996, William T. G. Littent, the editor of the Massachusetts Bar Association's Lawyers Journal, put together a fun piece detailing some less than brilliant courtroom questioning," end quote. Anyway, and later in the article, it does actually talk about this very exchange where, they're talking about lawyers cross-examining the pathologist about, the guy's brain was on his desk and all that stuff, yeah. And so that story is actually being cited in here in this newspaper article. And they're talking about this, journal, and they have a month and a year and the name of the editor, and it seems like that's where it comes from. But no, actually, if you look later in the same article, the article's author, some guy named Jim Kelly, actually, he actually talked to Litton, who was the editor of this issue, and Litton said, no, it's fiction, it's made up. And he even says that it didn't actually appear in the newsletter being the Lawyers Journal, that compiled a bunch of actual maybe real, maybe not, like exchanges in courtrooms. And this particular exchange was not actually published in that journal at all, not in that issue at least. So where did the connection that the story has to the journal come from then? It turns out it was actually so it turns out that where the story originated was not in the journal itself. Instead, it was in an email newsletter that people were sending back and forth shortly after the newsletter was published in 1996. And someone who was forwarding it from one person to another decided just to add in this transcript, but it was made up. They added it onto this email chain that was about the journal, about this issue of the journal. But the transcript itself, it was just, I guess, something some lawyer made up. And it was never published in this journal. So there's, we can be confident that it is in fact fictional and not a real transcript. So yeah, that's really all I wanted to say about this in this video, at least. It's just, yeah. The answer is that it's not real. It was made up.